Revealed, the heartwarming moment a single dad CEO transformed a poor girl's life on a blind date. Jake, a 35-year-old tech CEO, had spent years building his empire. The gleaming skyscrapers of downtown Chicago surrounded him, a constant reminder of his success. But as he glanced at the vibrant streets below, he felt heavy with responsibility. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, dreamed of being an artist, but their modest means weighed on him. He wanted to give her the world, but his focus on work often overshadowed their moments together. That's when his friend set him up on a blind date, and though hesitant, he agreed. Maybe just this once, he'd step outside his tightly wound life. The diner was cozy, lights dim, and the sweet scent of pancakes wafted through the air. Jake spotted Maria behind the counter, a lively waitress with big dreams sparkling in her eyes. Her laughter filled the room as she joked with customers, but when they met, it was her relentless spirit that captivated him. They traded stories. Maria talked about her childhood in a struggling neighborhood and her desire to launch a non-profit for underprivileged kids. Jake felt something shift within him. Here was a woman without pretense, a stark contrast to the polished corporate world he inhabited. As the evening wore on, their banter sparked connections that felt deeper than he could have anticipated. Laughter rippled between them, and for a moment, Jake forgot about his responsibilities. When Maria shared her dream of helping kids, he was taken aback. It struck him, a bold ambition amidst his own calculated world. Can you even imagine the struggles they'll face? Jake replied, a tightness in his chest. It's a noble dream, but, Maria interrupted, her eyes fierce, but nothing. They deserve more than just survival. They deserve a chance. Just as he began to admire the way she saw the world, however, an unsettling reminder of his status crept in. He could picture his peers' smirks, their judgment. But then, something inside him twisted. These thoughts were not who he wanted to be. His heart raced when he witnessed Maria stop to help a homeless veteran outside the diner. She offered him food and a kind word, her compassion radiating bright against the harsh city backdrop. Tears stung Jake's eyes, realizing it took true courage to care. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake's heart raced as he weighed what all this meant. Would he stand by Maria when society's judgment loomed overhead? His friends had taught him to value wealth and status, but the warmth he felt toward Maria challenged everything he thought he knew about success. Just then, the diner's atmosphere crackled with tension as some of his elitist friends strolled in, their laughter slicing through the air, eyes narrowing when they caught sight of him. What's this? A date in a diner, one of them scoffed, the mockery burning like acid. Jake could feel the weight of their disdain pressing down on him. As he looked at Maria, her laughter silenced by their presence, doubt flooded his mind. Would he defend her in this moment? A significant decision lay before him, the chance to redefine himself away from the confines of judgment and into the light of true connection. With the truth hanging in the air, he felt closer to an answer more than ever before. What path would he choose? Jake's mind raced as he faced his friends, their laughter ringing sharp and harsh in his ears. The cozy atmosphere of the diner suddenly felt suffocating. Maria stood beside him, a smile frozen on her face, eyes darting toward the group of affluent onlookers who were now judging her with thinly veiled contempt. Hey, man, did you lose a bet? Or is this just your new charity case? The ringleader of the group, Ryan, jeered. He leaned over the booth, smirking, a cocktail of arrogance and ignorance swirling around him like a cloud. Jake's stomach churned, torn between anger and embarrassment. Maria, however, did not falter. Her eyes narrowed as she stepped closer to Jake, her voice unyielding. You think I'm a charity case? I work hard for everything I have. Maybe you could learn a thing or two about that, she shot back. Shock flickered across Jake's face. He hadn't expected her to confront them directly. It sparked something in him, admiration and a sort of fierce pride. For a brief moment, silence enveloped the diner. Other patrons turned to watch, eyebrows raised, some stifling smiles at the spectacle unfolding before them. A small part of Jake felt embarrassment for Maria, but the larger part felt exhilarated by her fearless spirit. Ryan's laughter faltered, a small crack in his facade, revealing a hint of uncertainty. "Right, because working in a diner is such a shining achievement," he retorted, trying to regain control. Jake's blood boiled. He breathed in deeply, the scent of coffee and pancakes filling his lungs, grounding him to the moment. "Maria is doing more than you know. She is trying to change lives," he said, his voice steady, a contrast to the turmoil within. He surprised even himself, a whisper of courage illuminated by the truth he felt in Maria's presence. Facing Ryan, Jake felt a gate swing wide inside him. "Let me tell you something. I admire someone who pursues a dream against the odds. That's real strength, something I see in Maria. Can you say the same about your silver spoon upbringing?" There was a fleeting moment of quiet, before a couple of heads nodded around the diner in agreement. Jake felt a rush of relief, his heart swelled, realizing he was no longer bound by the expectations of his so-called friends. With tension still crackling in the air, Jake turned to Maria, searching her eyes. "I'm sorry you had to experience that." His voice softened. "But I'd like to get to know you better, away from here. Can we?" The spark of surprise glinted in her eyes, causing Jake's heart to skip a beat. He felt a connection that surpassed their respective backgrounds, a shared humanity grounded in honesty. "Absolutely," she replied, her smile blossoming with warmth. As they walked out of the diner, leaving behind the scornful gazes and whispering judgments, Jake felt liberated. The city felt different. The air was fresh, charged with the thrill of what lay ahead, a chance to redefine himself, not just as a CEO, but as someone who could care. But lurking at the back of his mind was the gnawing worry about what his friends would do next. What would their disapproval turn into? And could he truly balance his new feelings for Maria while navigating the corporate world that craved his attention? With each step, excitement brewed inside him, mixing dangerously with doubt. The path ahead was uncertain, but whatever challenge awaited, he felt ready to face it, starting now. Little did Jake know, the real test of his character was just beginning. Jake and Maria stepped out into the brisk evening air, their breaths visible in the coolness, merging and spiraling into the dim light that trailed behind them. The hum of the city felt like a heartbeat around them, pulsing with every step. Jake took a moment to gather himself, still astonished by the surge of courage he'd felt back in the diner. "It's wild, isn't it? How quickly everything can change," Maria said, breaking the silence. Her voice was softer now, almost contemplative. "One second, I'm just another waitress, and the next, I'm caught up in some sort of showdown." Jake chuckled, that tension easing from his shoulders. "You were incredible back there. I wish I had your guts." Maria glanced sideways at him, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "You had guts too, sticking up for me like that. Doesn't he sound like the Jake I thought I knew?" Her smile lit something in him, a warmth that washed away the nagging worry still lingering in the back of his mind. They turned the corner onto a quieter street, where the city lights dipped and swayed like stars hung too low. "What are you looking for in life?" he asked unexpectedly. The question hung between them, a fragile thread binding their two worlds together. She shrugged lightly, the effort seeming almost weightless. "I guess I just want more. More than this diner, more than the looks I get from people like Ryan. I want to be proud of where I'm going." Her vulnerability radiated, and Jake couldn't shake the sense that she was braver than anyone he'd met in his high-powered world. "I relate to that more than you know," he admitted. "My whole life has been about climbing the ladder, proving I'm not just a kid from a small town. But is it worth it if I'm losing who I really am?" Their eyes met, and in that second, Jake understood they were both fighting battles that felt so different yet somehow mirrored each other. She was struggling against her circumstances, and he against his own demons of expectation and privilege. As they walked, Maria pointed out small details of their surroundings, the little art pieces on the brick walls, the old bookstore on the corner, the way the setting sun cast the buildings in a golden hue. She spoke with passion, and he couldn't help but be drawn in. "Can I show you something?" Maria stopped suddenly, her eyes lit with excitement. Before he could respond, she took off towards the alleyway leading to a hidden mural he had never noticed before. It was a riot of colors, vibrant and expressive, wrapped around the walls like a story waiting to be told. "This is my favorite piece in the city." The artist was homeless, but he poured his heart into this. "It speaks to people, you know." Jake felt a weight in his chest as he absorbed the scene. "It's stunning. Just like you." She turned to him, surprise softening her features. "What? You think so?" "Absolutely. You see beauty in the world that most overlook. That's special." He meant every word, and it felt liberating to be so open with her. Maria's cheeks flushed slightly, and for a second, time stood still. But then the moment was overshadowed by an unexpected sound, a loud crash punctuated by a string of expletives echoing from the other end of the alley. The laughter and energy dissipated as they turned. A small skirmish had erupted among a group of men, shouting and pushing. Jake instinctively wanted to step back, to retreat from confrontation. But Maria stepped forward, a fire lit in her eyes. "Let us help, Jake," she urged. His heart raced. "But what if, Jake, what if we don't? What kind of person would that make us?" The weight of her words settled into his gut, and he realized this was the moment. The real test he hadn't seen coming. Steeling himself, he nodded. "All right. Let us do it." As they moved closer, Jake could feel the tension crackling in the air, but this time, it was not just about Maria, it was about the person he wanted to become. What if this went far beyond just a blind date? What if they could actually change something together? With their hearts racing in sync, they stepped into the fray. But what neither of them expected was how this night would reshape everything they knew. Jake and Maria pressed onward, the alley thick with adrenaline as they approached the chaos. Voices clamored, aggressive energy spiking. Maria, seemingly undeterred, moved ahead like a whirlwind, her resolve glowing like a beacon in the dark. "Hey!" she shouted, stepping between two men who were chest to chest, fists raised. "This isn't the way." Jake followed suit, feeling a rush of purpose wash over him. "Back off, man," he called to the crowd, his voice slightly shaky but firm. The eyes around him flickered with surprise. Would they listen to these two? One of the men paused, glancing between Maria and Jake. It was a moment that felt suspended in time. The world narrowed to just them and what they could do. Suddenly, another loud crash resounded, as someone stumbled against a trash can. The clash brought a collective gasp from onlookers, and a shimmer of doubt crept up Jake's spine. What if they couldn't resolve this? As the standoff continued, Maria broke the tension with an unexpected quip. "See mon, guys. You're better than this. Look at the beautiful mural. Are you really gonna mess up the art with a fight?" The absurdity of it hung in the air like an open invitation. Jake couldn't help but chuckle, despite the seriousness of the situation. She had a way of shifting perspectives. Slowly, a few men began to back away, murmurings of uncertainty seeping in amidst the bravado. Jake seized the chance. "You're better than this, don't let a night ruin your future." It was as if the words broke the hold of ego. Hesitant glances passed among the fighters, the weight of Jake and Maria's presence pressing down on the tension like a calming balm. The crowd began to thin, until there were only two men left, a tense stalemate. Maria softened her tone. "Look, it's not worth it. Why not just walk away? Life's too short to waste it like this." The taller man, sweat beading on his forehead, hesitated. He let his fists fall to his sides, the fight ebbing away like a receding tide. Yeah, maybe you're right. With a final glance at his opponent, he turned and stepped back. Jake felt the air shift, as if a curtain of weight had been lifted. Around him, others began to cheer, clapping and congratulating Maria and Jake for diffusing the situation. It was electric. They had done it. Maria turned to him, eyes bright with triumph. We really just did that. He flashed a grin, still slightly breathless. You led the way. It was all you. But her happiness was cut short by a flicker of worry. What if what we did isn't enough? She looked back at the remaining man, who was still standing inside the cafe entrance, his shoulders stiff. What if one moment doesn't change anything? Jake understood her struggle. It was so easy to feel small against the backdrop of the world's problems. Maybe not, but it's a start. Every change, big or small, begins with one step. As they turned away from the scene, a thought struck Jake. It was more than just diffusing a fight, it was about who they wanted to become together. Just then, Maria's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her brows furrowing slightly. It's Ryan. Your boss. She nodded, and the color drained from her face. Yeah, he's calling all the way from the diner. I wonder what he wants. Jake felt a knot twist in his stomach. Suddenly, the joy of their triumph mingled with anxiety. Where would this lead? Was Ryan simply going to disrupt everything they had stirred up that night? As Maria answered the call, Jake's heart raced. What would Ryan say? Would it tear them apart? The sound of the city buzzed around them, but in that moment, all Jake could hear was the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Maria pressed the phone to her ear, her face tightening as if bracing for impact. Ryan? What is going on? She asked, her voice steady but laced with worry. Jake leaned closer, straining to catch every word. The cacophony of the city faded into a dull roar. He saw a flicker of concern dance in her eyes as Ryan started talking, words tumbling out like stones. The cafe entrance loomed behind the man they had just diffused, a stark reminder of the precariousness of their victory. Look, I need to talk to you. It's important, Ryan's voice crackled through the line, urgent and clipped. Maria nodded, her brows knitted. Yeah, I'm listening. Jake's heart raced. What could possibly be so important? He could feel Maria's tension, her body rigid as she leaned into the call. The energy around them shifted, moving from victorious to anxious. Your shift is about to change, and I'm not sure how you'll handle this. Ryan's voice lowered, a whisper meant only for her. Change? What do you mean? Maria's tone shifted from concern to incredulity. You can't just drop news like that, Ryan. You're scaring me. Jake fidgeted, anxiety pooling in his stomach. The exhilaration of the evening was rapidly falling away, replaced with gnawing uncertainty. He reached for her hand, squeezing it lightly, trying to reassure her without words. Maria, you've got to listen. Ryan's tone was sharp. The restaurant's got a corporate visit coming in, potential investors. They're asking for someone to represent the staff. You're the first person I thought of. Her eyes widened as she processed his words. Are you serious? I don't know if I'm ready for that. You are ready. They need a face who knows the ins and outs of this place. Someone who connects with the customers. Ryan's voice softened, an earnestness coming through. I wouldn't ask you if I didn't believe in you. Jake watched as a mix of emotions washed over Maria: fear, hesitation, a glimmer of hope. He recognized that this was bigger than any minor confrontation in an alley. This could change everything for her. Okay, but what if I mess up? She whispered, almost to herself. What if you fly? Ryan countered, his tone steady. Just give it a shot. As she hung up, Maria turned to Jake, uncertainty smudging her expression. He wants me to represent the diner for this big pitch. It could mean a raise, maybe a promotion. Wow, that's huge. Jake exclaimed, but her fear stifled his excitement. What is holding you back? She looked away, surveying the street, lines of confusion etched on her face. I'm terrified. What if I fail? What if they don't take me seriously? What if stop, Jake interrupted, gently but firmly. What if you succeed? What if this opens doors for you? Her heart raced as she gazed into his eyes, the flicker of doubt battling the emerging excitement. I don't know, Jake. Before he could reply, the crowd around them began to shift again as people began to disperse, leaving behind remnants of the chaos. Jake felt an understanding bloom between them. This was more than the immediate fight they had diffused. It was about embracing opportunities, however daunting they felt. Maybe you just need to take a leap, he suggested, taking a step closer. You're stronger than you know. She hesitated, then smiled, a tentative glimmer in the dim light. You really think I can do this? I know you can. But as Jake spoke those words, a shadow flickered at the edge of his mind. The echoes of the fight still lingered, and he couldn't shake off the worry that their victory was fragile. It may have been just one moment, but could it truly change anything in the long run? Maria took a deep breath, the city air heavy with potential. Okay, she said finally, a spark igniting. I'll do it. I want to try. As they walked away from the cafe, the weight of the world settled back onto their shoulders like a looming storm. But this time, there was a trace of hope glimmering through the clouds. Still, Jake couldn't shake the creeping thought in the back of his mind. Was her leap of faith just the beginning, or would unforeseen challenges threaten to pull them back into chaos? The night stretched ahead, filled with uncharted territory. The following days felt like a whirlwind for Maria. At the diner, she busied herself with the usual tasks, but her mind was racing in 1,000 different directions. The anticipation of the corporate visit loomed over her like a heavy blanket. Each clatter of plates and hum of chatter served as a reminder that the moment she had longed for yet feared was rapidly approaching. Hey, you okay? Jake asked one afternoon, noticing the distant look in her eyes as she wiped down a table. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting warm golden pools on the floor. Yeah, she replied, forcing a smile. Just thinking about the pitch. You've got this, Maria, he said, confidence brimming in his voice. Just be you. They want to see the real deal. Right, just me, she echoed, the uncertainty creeping back in. Did she truly know who her was under the pressure of corporate scrutiny? As Saturday approached, the diner buzzed with excitement over the big event. Ryan had arranged a whole plan for the day, detailing what Maria should focus on during her presentation. He even practiced with her, playing the role of the investors. Each mock session was met with laughter and nerves. You can't mess this up, he teased, grinning widely. You're going to be amazing. Yet, beneath the playful banter, Maria felt the weight of disappointment creeping closer with every passing hour. What if she didn't meet the expectations? What if they thought she was just another waitress from the diner, unworthy of their time? On the day of the visit, she found herself standing in front of the mirror, fingers trembling as she adjusted the collar of her blouse. With every glance, she searched for strength in her reflection. You look great, Jake said, appearing in the doorway, his expression supportive but serious. Are you ready for this? She turned, feeling the warmth of his gaze envelop her. I think so. Just remember to breathe. You've been through tougher things. This is nothing, he reassured her softly. Yeah, nothing, she repeated, trying to bolster her voice but noticing the pitch still quivered. As they arrived at the diner, Maria's heart raced. The corporate representatives were already inside, discussing details with Ryan. The atmosphere buzzed with a mix of nervous tension and eager anticipation. She scanned the space, her fingertips brushing against the worn tabletop as she steadied herself. All right then, Jake said, giving her a light nudge. Show them what you've got. With a deep breath, she stepped into the main area. The polished wooden floors gleamed, capturing the morning light like a stage awaiting its performer. She approached the investors, her legs a little shaky but her heartbeat echoing with determination. "I'm Maria," she introduced, her voice stronger than she felt. The lead investor, a tall man with a friendly smile, nodded encouragingly. "Nice to meet you, Maria. Ryan tells us you're quite the gem around here." Her confidence began to swell. They were looking at her, really looking. This wasn't just some mundane transaction, this was her chance to shine. As she started talking about the diner, the warmth of the community, the stories behind the food, the laughter shared over meals, Jake stood back, observing her. He wasn't just proud, he felt something deeper stirring, a sense of belonging that radiated in her presence. "And we're not just about food," she continued, passion lighting her eyes. "We're about creating memories. This place is a second home for everyone who walks through those doors." The investors nodded, captivated. Maria's heart hammered in her chest, not out of fear but excitement. She could feel it, she was hitting the mark, yet, as the pitch reached its crescendo, a shadow flickered in the corner of her mind. What would happen if they didn't see her potential? Just as the conversation shifted, her phone buzzed in her pocket with a text. Distracted, she pulled it out, only to see a photo of a new situation unfolding back in their neighborhood. An old friend was in trouble, and her heart dropped. What if she had to choose between her chance at success and helping those she loved? Would her moment of glory come at a cost? In that instant, the weight of her world felt heavier than ever. As she took a breath, she realized this moment was just the beginning of something much larger, a test of heart as well as courage. Maria stood there, caught between two worlds. On one hand, the excitement of the pitch, the weight of hope pressing against her chest like a drum, beating harder with every passing second. On the other hand, the fear of letting down those she loved, the unshakable bond between them clawing for her attention. "Maria?" The lead investor's voice broke through her haze, pulling her back into focus. "Are you all right?" Yes. "Sorry about that," she stammered, forcing a smile despite her racing thoughts. The room felt hotter now, sweat beaded on her forehead. She tucked her phone deeper into her pocket, heart racing with what was unfolding back home. "Why don't you tell us a bit more about what sets your diner apart?" The man prompted, genuine interest glimmering in his eyes. With a shaky breath, Maria leaned forward, letting the words flow. "We're a family here. From the staff to the customers, everyone has a story. We try to give people more than just a meal, we offer a place to belong." Jake stood at the periphery, watching with bated breath. He could see the passion in her eyes, the way her hands moved to emphasize every point she made. But he also noticed the growing worry etched on her brow, the flicker of distraction that threatened to pull her away. "You mentioned a recent community event that you held?" one of the investors asked. "Yes," she replied, almost too eagerly. "We organized a charity dinner to raise funds for local families in need. It felt amazing to see the whole community come together." Her voice held strength, recalling moments filled with laughter and generosity, joyful faces of friends and family. "That's impressive," the investor nodded. "Community involvement carries weight in today's business model." As they chatted, her mind kept shifting back to her phone. One text. One photo, but the implications felt like 1,000. What if her friend needed her? What if this was more than just a local emergency? She tried to focus on the investors, but guilt gnawed at her heart, a heavy anchor. "Maria?" Jake's voice, low but steady, pierced through the clouds of her uncertainty. He stepped a bit closer. "You've got this. Remember why we're here." Her gaze met his, and in that moment, clarity cut through the chaos. She couldn't just go through the motions, she had to give it her all. This was about them, about the community they served, and about her chance to genuinely make a difference. "I want to create more opportunities for people, like my friend," she finally admitted, her voice trembling slightly but full of conviction. "I want to grow this diner into a place where every story is heard and valued." The investors shared glances, eyebrows raised in surprise at her sincerity. The atmosphere shifted, the room buzzed with an invigorating energy that felt alive. "Let us discuss what that looks like," the lead investor said, adjusting his glasses, his interest peaked. But as they delved deeper into the conversation, Maria's phone buzzed again, a stark reminder of the world outside those walls. A photo. A frown. Trouble. Her heart pounded with the realization that every second spent here was a risk. She felt pulled in two directions, success in her hands but the weight of friendship looming larger. "Is everything all right?" the lead investor asked, noticing her hesitance. In that moment, Maria faced a profound choice. To fight for her dream or rush back to her friend. Before she could answer, a surge of emotion filled her, tears threatening to spill. I just need a moment," she choked out. Jake stepped closer, concern flooding his eyes. "You okay?" "Not yet," she whispered, stepping away. As she walked away from the group, her mind raced. What if this moment shaped her forever, for better or worse? The decision loomed over her. Could she manage both worlds? With the ringtone of her phone breaking the silence, she wondered how far would she go to blend her ambitions with loyalty. Surrounded by opportunity, how would she navigate her heart's desires? Would the choice she made this day define not just her future but the lives of those counting on her? In the background, the investors chatted amongst themselves, curiosity woven through their words. An undeniable tension hung in the air, leaving Maria standing at a crossroads, ready to take her next step or maybe the wrong one. Maria took a breath, turning her back on the investors, the weight of their gazes pressing against her. She stepped outside into the crisp air, each inhale trying to wash away the turmoil bubbling within. The alley behind the building was quiet, a stark contrast to the whirlwind inside her mind. The cold air bit at her cheeks, but it felt invigorating, almost grounding. Frantically, she pulled her phone from her pocket, heart racing as she opened the message that had unsettled her so deeply. The photo was of her friend Sarah, tears streaming down her face, sadness etched in every crease. It took a moment for the words to register. "Maria, I can't do this alone. I'm scared. I need you." Tears pricked at the corners of Maria's eyes. A weight settled heavily on her chest. Sarah had always been her rock, supporting her through thick and thin. Yet here she was, in a pivotal moment of her life, potentially on the brink of her dream, and her friend was struggling. What was she to do? "Maria." Jake's voice cut through her thoughts, his worried expression surfacing as he stepped into the alley. "What is going on?" She held up the phone, unable to find her voice. The words swam before her eyes. "Is that Sarah?" he asked, drawing closer. "What happened?" "She needs me, Jake," Maria finally whispered, feeling the weight of her dilemma pressing harder. "I can't just leave her like this." "Then don't," Jake urged gently, laying a hand on her shoulder. "You can take a moment. They'll understand. This is about more than just a pitch. It's about your life, your friendships. What if they wait for me?" She replied, her voice cracking. "What if I miss my chance?" "Sometimes, the biggest risk is not taking the chance that really matters," he said quietly, his kind eyes locked onto hers. "You have to decide what success means to you." As she searched his expression, Maria felt the turmoil in her heart, the storm of ambition and loyalty crashing against each other. It wasn't just about her dream, it was about Sarah's pain. "Maybe I could," she started, but her voice trailed off. She didn't want to disappoint the investors, yet every heartbeat screamed her friend's name. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, a reminder of the urgency that felt overwhelming. This was more than a choice between two worlds, it was the depths of friendship calling out for help. "Stay with me," Jake said, his voice a soothing balm. "Just take a moment to breathe. Think about what you really want to do. Your business can wait a little longer if it means being there for someone you love." The sincerity in his tone was all she needed. Maria closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, trying to clear her mind. One step at a time. Maybe there was a way to do both. I need to talk to them, she said finally, a newfound determination dawning within her. But I won't ignore Sarah. She deserves my support too. Exactly, Jake smiled, pride evident as he stepped back, giving her space. You can balance it. You're stronger than you know, Maria. Resolutely, she headed back inside. With every step, she felt the echoes of her dream battling with her heart's loyalty. Uncertainty clung to her, but empowerment rose quietly, a fire sparking in her core. The investors' chatter warmed up the room again, a reminder that she hadn't lost her opportunity yet. Maybe, just maybe, she could forge a path that embraced her ambitions and honored the people in her life. When you address the investors next, don't forget to show them who you are, Jake added, glancing at her encouragingly. Let them see your heart. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the door to the conference room, stepping back into the light. The moment of truth was approaching, and Maria was determined to embrace it whatever it might hold. What if this was the moment that defined everything? Or would the cracks in her life create an unexpected beauty? Maria stepped back into the conference room, her heart pounding in her chest. The hum of conversation washed over her, but it felt distant, like she was standing on the edge of a vast ocean, ready to leap. She glanced around, taking in the faces of the investors who had once seemed intimidating. Today, they felt different, more like a gathering of strangers than gatekeepers to her dreams. She took a moment to steady herself, inhaling deeply. She could hear Jake's words echoing in her mind, show them who you are. But who was she really? In that moment, Maria realized she was a mosaic of her loves, her struggles, and her friendships. Clearing her throat, she stepped forward. The room quieted, eyes fixating on her, and for a split second, she wrestled with the urge to flee. But then she remembered Sarah's tear-streaked face, how much she needed her right now, and that steely determination surged through her again. Thank you for your patience, she began, her voice softer than she wanted but stronger than she felt. I know this pitch is important, but I also know that life can pull us in many directions. We often have to make choices that weigh heavy on our hearts. A few nods exchanged in the room, and she caught sight of Jake leaning against the wall with a reassuring smile. That gave her the confidence she craved. I want to share my vision with you today, not just as a potential business proposal but as an expression of who I am. My work is fueled by my experiences, both the highs and the lows. I've had moments of hopelessness, but it's through the people I care about that I've learned resilience. As she spoke, she began to weave in stories about her childhood, love for her community, and how her journey had been intertwined with friendships that shaped her. The investors listened, their expressions shifting from casual interest to growing empathy. Maria felt the connection building, a shared recognition of the complexities of life. And that brings me to my best friend, Sarah, she continued, feeling a slight tremor in her voice. She is in a tough place right now. The truth is, the future only feels bright when we have those we love beside us. For a moment, silence enveloped the room. It was as if everyone held their breath, contemplating her honesty. Maria's heart raced, vulnerable and open as she felt the energy shift. This was no longer a mere pitch, this was a presentation of her soul. Finally, she took a step back, letting her words hang in the air. I believe success should not be solitary. We grow together. My vision for this project is not just to build something profitable but to create a space that uplifts others. I want my work to reflect the strength found in community. The silence lingered, and she could see the investors exchanging glances, an unbroken chain of emotions passing among them. Maria held her breath, anticipation rising in her chest. Would they get it? Could she bridge the gap between her ambitions and the deep ties she had with her friends? Just then, a hand shot up from the back, a man with graying hair and piercing blue eyes, who had been watching her closely. Maria, he said, his voice steady, tell me more about how you can integrate that vision into a business model that impacts our community. A spark ignited in her. Here it was, an invitation to share her entire dream. As she prepared to answer, her phone buzzed in her pocket, a reminder of Sarah's plight. But now, It felt as if the world was shifting. Maybe, just maybe, she could have both the passion of her heart and the dreams of her mind coalesce into something beautiful. What if this chapter was only the beginning? Would she find a way to bring her dreams to life while being there for Sarah? The true test of loyalty and ambition was just beginning, and Maria was ready to explore the depths of both. As Maria stood there, heart pounding, the energy in the room crackled. She could feel every eye on her, the weight of expectation pushing against her chest. It was her moment, a chance to reclaim not just her dreams, but also the connections she valued most. "Thank you for taking the time to hear me," she began again, voice steady now. "I know the numbers and the metrics are what you're looking for. But I believe those numbers tell a story. They reflect lives touched, families supported, and futures changed." She paused, glancing towards Jake, who remained a silent pillar behind her, radiating confidence. "I envision a diner that isn't just a place to grab a bite but a community hub where every story matters. From the artists looking for inspiration to the families seeking warmth, that's what I want to cultivate." Each sentence flowed with conviction, the nerves that had once gripped her now transformed into a passionate fire. She leaned forward slightly, feeling the rhythm build. "This is about more than profitability. It's about creating opportunities for others, just like my best friend Sarah needs and deserves right now. We all climb together or we fall apart." Growing murmurs filled the space. She caught a glimpse of the investors nodding, intrigued. "I want to create sponsorships for local artists, mentorships for the youth, and even scholarships for those from our community. Every dollar spent at our diner can help uplift those around us." Jake's heart swelled, pride bursting as her vision took shape. It was clear she was no longer just pitching a business, she was sharing a movement, crafting a legacy. The lead investor leaned in, curiosity thick in the air. "How do you plan on executing this, Maria?" the man asked, his voice firm yet welcoming. "We start small. Everyone knows the diner, right? Let us expand what that means. More events, fundraising evenings, better partnerships with local creators." She could feel the momentum shift. "If we invest in our community, we invest in ourselves. A diner is just walls, but the spirit is in the hearts we touch." Applause erupted, filling the space with warmth. Maria's smile widened. She was soaring, mingling ambition with authenticity, blending her world with the one she aspired to build. Just then, her phone buzzed again, but this time she could ignore it. She was on a flow. Sarah could wait, she had the strength to balance both worlds. The investors exchanged glances, and she watched a flicker of realization within them. They saw her. "I love it, Maria." Another investor clapped his hands together. "Let us collaborate on this. We can help you bridge the gap. This isn't just a project, it's a vision we can all share." Maria bit her lip to hold back tears. Friends and family, dreams and ambitions all merging flawlessly, ebbing and flowing like the tide. Hours later, as the sun set over Chicago, Jake and Maria stood outside the diner, the glow of the neon sign flickering behind them. It felt as if the night held promise in its embrace. "So, what's next for you?" he asked, leaning against the brick wall, a hint of pride sparkling in his eyes. "I'll need to follow through with the investors, of course, but I'm not leaving Sarah behind. I want to show her she's just as important." "That's beautiful," Jake replied, grinning widely. "You can do it, Maria. You've already inspired me." With the city shining brightly around them, Maria took a deep breath, the past melding into the promise of tomorrow. "And you've inspired me," she whispered back, glancing into his eyes. "I realize tonight, life isn't just about success. It's about lifting each other up." Jake nodded, understanding deepening between them. This wasn't merely a date, it was a partnership in the purest sense, a connection forged in hope and shared dreams. As they walked away, laughter mingling with the cool night air, Maria knew this was a new chapter. A chapter where dreams melded with realities of love, friendship, and community. Together they could face any storm. Together they could rise. Maria turned, her heart swelling with both ambition and the remembrance of all the lives they touch. Let us show the world what love can do. That s when Jake took her hand. Let us. And in that moment, they both knew their adventure was just beginning. Now, I need you all to do something that matters. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that warm your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it truly makes a difference for us. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share, because only true fans understand the importance of uplifting our community through these actions.